All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Do Hard Things podcast. I'm your host, Jay Teagues, leadership trainer, speaker, adventure coach, founder of the Do Hard Things Nation. And I'd like to welcome you to another episode where I have with me in studio Eric Upchurch. I'm going to go through his bio, and I'm excited to have him on. We've been trying to synchronize our schedules. We had a technical issue one time, so we've had to kick the can down the street a couple times to make this happen, but truly excited to get in today's conversation. But before we get into it, just a couple housekeeping things. Make sure you smash that subscribe button so you're notified of future episodes. We're on Spotify, Apple, even on YouTube. Go check us out there. And please take a moment, leave us a review on iTunes. It goes a long way to expanding the Do Hard Things empire and getting any value whatsoever. Apple is like the that's where the reviews truly matter, and it means a lot to me. So please take the time to go do that and share it with a couple of your friends. This episode is sponsored by The Forge. The Forge is a high-performance community. We feel that leadership solves most problems, and The Forge is an opportunity to network with other growth-minded people. We provide frameworks, challenges, and accountability. You can listen to a podcast on your own. You can listen to or go read a book by yourself, but to have a community of like-minded people will absolutely accelerate your life and to help you achieve your goals. We're also sponsored by Do Hard Things Apparel. So if you go to dohardthingsnation.com, you can get yourself some high-quality apparel, all designed by my lovely wife, Lacey, and she does great stuff. And there's a lot of great motivational, high-quality stuff. So when you're out there getting after, it's almost like wearing armor, if you will. And we get comments all the time. People wearing a shirt to the first marathon, or they went to a funeral and they wore their Do Hard Things shirt underneath because it gave them some level of strength. So that's what it's all about. So it's gear that empowers you. So go check that out, dohardthingsnation.com. Upcoming events, we got our run on September 9th of 23. It's the Do Hard Things 5K and 9.11 mile memorial run and ruck in Cooper's Landing. And we have a virtual option for those that are out there that can't physically make it. The medals are going to be awesome. The shirts are going to be awesome. So go to dohardthingsnation.com. You can register there. And that's it for all the housekeeping stuff. So Eric, let me introduce Eric, and then we'll get him in here. So Eric Upchurch is an Army Special Operations veteran who has a passion for educating the military community on how to create long-term wealth through real estate investing. He's invested in thousands of multifamily, storage, mobile home parks, student housing units as a general partner of the last decade, with involvement in sourcing, capital raising, risk capital, asset management, investor relations, and as a key principal. While serving our nation, Eric completed 5 combat deployments. He earned his master's degree in Aeronautical Science while managing a 27-man squad deployed around the globe. He now serves as co-founder of Active Duty Passive Income, known as ADPI, and is a senior advisor with ADPI Capital. Eric resides in California with his wife of 18 years and 2 boys. So we'd crossed paths as performance coaches. I saw Eric in one of the cohorts that I was recertifying in. I've seen ADPI. I've been following the group. I'm going to their convention later this year. And we've been just kind of like on the outer peripherals. We've communicated. Yeah. I'm super excited with the work that you're doing, and super excited to have you on the podcast. So thanks for taking the time to be here.
Thanks for having me, Jay. This is awesome. And it's funny that we're just kind of becoming best friends. We're just kidding. But no, we're linking up right now, but we run in a lot of the same circles: the military circle, the kind of real estate circle, the business and podcasting circles, and the high performance circles. And so here we are, circling up.
No, it's good to have you here. And I know you were excited because the time that I reached out to you, you're like, man, I'm going to go crush this half marathon. And I know it was quite the experience for you.
Yeah.
So you want to kick it off and just talk about that experience?
Yeah, for sure. That's a great starting point. So I've been saying, I love your brand, by the way. I've been saying Do Hard Things just in my life for a long time. And I'm going to continue to promote your brand, Do Hard Things, and just everyday talk, because it's so that people understand that we're built for growth. And I know the HARD is an acronym that's fantastic, and you talk about it and stuff, and we can dive into that. But man, I love doing hard things, and I am constantly challenging myself and challenging those around me. I think it's really important. And that's what, to kind of correlate that to business, that's what masterminds do. Challenge you. I'm always striving to be the dumbest guy in the room, surround yourself by people who are going to bring you up, and keep that on. So I went to a buddy of mine and said, hey, let's do something hard. It kind of elevated to like, hey, let's just go do a half Ironman. And so I'd run a bunch of half marathons. I've run one full marathon. Marathon we did a long time ago without training at all. My wife and I ran it, finished it. It was miserable. But it was a hard thing we did. And I realized, man, you can really push. And I was a distinguished honor graduate for special operations qualification course. And that was a hard thing I did. And I was like, man, well, I did that. What's next? What can I push? So now here in my old veteran civilian life, I'm like, I got to keep on doing these hard things, physical challenges, mental challenges. So the half Ironman came up, and I was actually training a little bit for it back in 2019. And then guess what happened? April 4th of 2020 in Oceanside, which is where the half Ironman was supposed to be held. It was COVID, and it got canceled. Then it got delayed. Then it got delayed, and then it got delayed. And so finally in December of 22, December 4th, I cold turkey. I don't run, swim, or bike at all anymore. I walk a lot and I lift heavy things and put them other places. That's all I do I do that 7 days a week. So I am in the gym all the time, but I don't specifically train any of those. I don't run at all anymore because of my knees. So, I had committed to this, and I told my friends 3 years prior that I'm going to do this thing. And I was the only one that showed up for it. I'm going to throw them under the bus here a little bit, but, so thanks, first time I ever swam in a wetsuit was when I jumped in at the starting line.
Oh,
this is the triathlon I had ever done. Never done a try. So I'd never been through a transition point in a triathlon. So it was a 1.2 mile swim in 57 degree water, which is freezing, by the way. Yeah, really cold. So wetsuit mandatory, still freezing, by the way, and awkward. Swimming in a wetsuit is awkward if you're not used to it. So that was a challenge to get through. And then it's a 56-mile bike ride, and then you finish with a half marathon. And I'll just tell you a quick funny story. On the way to the starting point, I was sitting next to this woman on the bus to take you there. And she goes, "What's your specialty?" And what she meant was like, which one of the three do you like to do the most, or which are you best at? And the only thing I could say to her was grit. I said, I am not good at any of these, but I'm going to grit this out. I am going to think about my brothers and sisters who I serve are no longer here and can't do this. And that's going to get me to the finish line. And I got to tell you, mile 38 on the bike, I used every bit of that sentiment to get me through the rest of the whole day, because it was absolute misery. And, but pushed through the end and finished in 7 hours or something like that.
Yeah. At that point, you still had 18 miles on the bike and a half marathon to run.
Yeah. Yeah. Real tough when you get done with the bike and you're like, okay, now I have to go do a half marathon. How am I going to run 13 plus miles?
Yeah. Hopping off that bike and start running. You're like, your legs just they're wobbly. You're like, what in the hell is going on here? Even
getting up, sitting on the grass, putting my running shoes on, getting up, standing up was like, ooh, this is weird. I might cramp. Thankfully I didn't get any cramps or anything, but it was really close to cramping. And just mentally, you got to go like, how am I going to get like any inertia, any momentum going? Yeah. Got to move forward, So, but got through
mile 38. Like, what were you like? What was the thought process? Like, what were you thinking about at that moment?
Only pain. So is in Palm Springs, middle of nowhere, back roads, country roads, and so you talk about a lot about mindset, right? And on a country back road. And I'm on a, not even a tri bike, just a road bike that I bought for like, I don't know, $800 or something like that. And so not even a great bike. And I was just riding on a straight line for tens of miles down in the middle of a hot desert. And I'm on this bumpy road. And I'm thinking every single bump I can feel, and I'm concentrating on every bump instead of, I could have, focused on something better, but it got to me. It started to really get to me. And then on my way back into town, I was getting excited, and then I started feeling pain. So I was actually for several miles, I was sitting upright and riding no-handed, using my arms to push my legs down. It was so painful, man. And it's just a factor of not training. I'd done zero bike riding up until that day. So I'm like, all right, well, I can ride a bike, pedal, coast, no big deal. Right. Exactly. Cause I'm also competitive. And so I'm sitting there going like, oh, come on, man, just, push, you can do this. But nutrition is huge to get right, and learn that in the Grand Canyon on a recent hike also, how important nutrition is during these types of events, these long endurance events. And so working on that and get better at doing longer, harder things. And then, now we do it to raise money for Veterans Community Project. I do 2 events a year now, and love giving back in that way, and bringing my fellow do hard thingers with me, so to speak.
Well, now why subject yourself to that, and how does that help you in other aspects of your life, like being a father, business owner, entrepreneur?
I hear people all the time saying, and perspective is key here. And that's something I had to learn when I got out of the military, is especially dealing with PTSD, and is like my perspective is, but the perspective on the other end, let's just call it a civilian perspective, is also valid, right? So when I hear, I don't know, I'm just making up a thing here, a realtor say how hard their day was, or a business person saying, oh, that meeting was hard, I just think to myself, was it hard? Like to me, hard is a little bit different. Now, that's not to say that their day wasn't hard or that thing wasn't hard for them. I get it. In general, things can be hard. But to me, hard is getting shot at. Hard is not being able to feel the pains and wins and losses of business. That's hard. Hard is not being here to be able to participate in, hiking around Mount Hood, or hiking rim to rim to rim in the Grand Canyon, or Tahoe Rim Trail, or pushing or donating $500,000 or whatever, right? That's, to me, not being here is hard. So I do these things with the memory and pride of those who've gone before me, for they love to fight, fought, and rather die than quit. And that is what I said when I was at mile 38. That's what I was telling myself. For those who are no longer here, push. Almost to the point where I was almost in tears on the bike, because I was saying that to myself. I was saying the Night Stalker Creed in my head. I got to keep on pushing. I got to keep on prevailing. So to me, hard. I think it's important for people to do things that are hard, because we're built for growth. We're not like we're inherently kind of sedentary now, in just the way technology has provided things for us. Even like, this is going to sound really rudimentary, but chairs, comfortable seats. We weren't built for comfortable seats. We have padding on our butts because that's how we're biologically made, right? And now we have these plush chairs and everyone wants to sit. I haven't sat down in my office since 2017, because we're built for growth. We're built for standing. We're built for movement, and we're built for health. We should be healthy people. So anyway, I don't know, I could go on a tirade there, but I just think it's important that people try to grow, because it's so easy to not do that nowadays.
Yeah, I think we typically operate at about 40% of our capacity, and we forget that we can actually do these difficult things, because we just get so caught up in the day-to-day. So some things that seem difficult in the grand scheme of what we're actually capable of aren't. And I think that's, having a controlled environment where you can put yourself through something incredibly difficult and challenging just is a good reminder. And it's something you can tap into when shit in your life just isn't going your way. When you're having that difficult meeting, it's like, you know what? I could be at mile 38, in California on the shitty bike on this bumpy road with my ass chafed, but I'm here and this isn't so bad. Yes, this sucks, but it's not nearly as bad as it could be. And to your point, we get to do this. Other people aren't here anymore, or they would give anything, because maybe they're disabled or maimed or something has happened to them. They would give anything to have the things that we take for granted.
Absolutely. Being able to hike, walk, swim, bike. I mean, all those things. Absolutely. And then it also, I think that those who are capable actually owe it to others to do hard things, because there's a benefit to the people around you, whether it's motivation, or in our case, when we do a big charity event that's hard physically and mentally. We raised $190,000 for Veterans Community Project last year, doing the 170-mile hike around Lake Tahoe. That was really physically and mentally hard, but we raised dozens of homeless veterans off the streets, because we did that one hard thing.
Yeah.
And that was like, it was gratifying, but it was more than gratification on ours. That's the selfish part of it. But we helped human beings, our brothers and sisters in arms, who don't deserve to be living under a bridge. We gave them housing. And so when you do hard things, you can do things like that, but you can also just motivate others around you. So whenever I put together an event, and other people join in, that's motivating them to go, okay, wow, this guy's got some kind of passion for something. Let me join in that. And there are so many people out there who have charities and stuff like that, or like a charitable, but don't know where to give.
Mm-hmm.
So if you show passion to a cause and can demonstrate why it's important and impactful, people will donate because they have money, but don't know where is a valid place to invest it, or to, put it. So.
No, I love that. And you're absolutely right. You can motivate them through physical activity by getting them involved. To your point, you can use it as an opportunity to give it $190,000. That's some serious money.
Man,
and that organization is fantastic. I had they had a booth down here for the Best Sapper competition.
Yep.
And they're from the Kansas City chapter. And it was pretty impressive what they've been able to accomplish with their organization.
Yeah, we've I say we because I'm very active with them. So we've got Kansas City, which is the beginning development, and then Longmont, Colorado, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Milwaukee, St. Louis, Oklahoma City's coming up. So there's 6 locations, I think, right now. 3,000 cities are signed up to receive Veterans Community Project communities. So it's a very effective system. And here's a stat for you, a couple stats actually. 95% of veterans who are given housing for 18 months will stay home, not homeless. They will stay actively out of the streets for the rest of their lives. So Veterans Community Project is providing that opportunity, and with a 95% success rate, which is incredible. Also, because of efforts like Veterans Community Project, the homelessness in the U.S., the veteran homelessness has gone from 38,000 to 32,000 since 2020. So we're actually making a significant dent in a very short amount of time. So my goal is to end veteran homelessness this decade. It's on my vision board. I talk about it. I say it, all the stuff. So making a big dent.
No, that's outstanding. Those are some serious stats I hadn't heard of. No, outstanding. Well, tell us a little bit about ADPI, Active Duty Passive Income. What's the mission there?
Yeah.
What's your role there? How did that get started? And
so our mission is financial freedom for those who serve. That's specifically general, but active duty passive income on words. It's for veterans, military spouses, and families, and obviously active duty reserves, National Guard, everybody. But active duty passive income is started in 2017 with just a Facebook group. My partner and CEO, he's the founder. I'm the co-founder. His name is Markian Sitch. He's a Marine pilot by trade. He's separated now also. But he just started by documenting kind of Gary Vee style. He was like, let me just document my real estate investing experience. He bought a turnkey, and then he bought a 52-unit apartment complex with his mom and his family. And I was connected with him, of mine, Nathan Brooks, who was like, hey, you got to check out this Facebook group. And there was like 20 people in the Facebook group. And I was like, okay, well, I'll check it out. We connected, and we're like, just from there, it was just gangbusters. He was like, I didn't know there was more people that were interested in this. And I was like, yeah, there's more. So fast forward now, we have 70,000 members. We maintain an 83% engagement rate on a 70,000 member community. Which is unbelievable. Most engagement rates are in the low teens at best. So we're doing a fantastic job moderating there and providing value. But we're an education company primarily. We have the military real estate investing, which is 100 lessons to teach people how to buy 1 to 4 unit properties, and using some unique military benefits. And we have our book, for those of you not watching, holding up our military house hacking book, which is a #1 bestseller on Amazon. And you can get a free copy on our website. But that teaches people all the stuff that we wish we knew. When I was a listed guy, I wish I knew that I could buy a 4-plex with no money out of pocket. No realtor would come up to me. They were just trying to sell like single family new construction houses in Savannah, Georgia. And I was like, that sounds cool. I'll take that. But instead I could have bought a 4-plex and cash flowed. And nobody told me that, right? It wasn't even an option. I didn't even know to like research it. So anyway, we teach all kinds of stuff like that. And then we have the Military Short-Term Rental Academy now, which is hot. And now we also have the very successful Military Multifamily Academy, and those come in cohorts classes. So our military students will go like, 2306, and then, 2307, whatever. And they'll partner up and create little groups of people so they can start doing deals together. So it's pretty neat. Yep. That's the core company. And then I'll just fast forward a little bit. We've got ADPI Lending, ADPI Insurance, ADPI and ADPI Realty. So all those are separate entities that are serving veterans, with realtors, with lending nationwide. We have 36 meetups worldwide, and it's just spider webbing out now, which is fantastic. So
no, it's awesome. It's awesome to see the growth. The community is fantastic. And
yeah.
when I bought my ticket, I was able to receive my pick of the courses. So I picked the single family home because I've got one I'm about to rent out and I want more information. And the course is fantastic. I'm about halfway through it and I love it. It's kind of short, to the point. It's easy to understand. And a lot of people just think real estate investing is so complicated.
Yeah.
But the way that you guys educate and provide support with the community, it really isn't that complicated. And you get around other people that are experienced and get that mentorship, and can really change your financial dynamic for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Just teaching the stuff that we wish we knew, and then diving in deep on it. When people are interested, they can really get into the nitty gritty. So, yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm there. I didn't know much, and I had bought a house when I was in Colorado and tried to do my own version of renting it out. It was a complete disaster. And there was nothing the internet was kind of in its infancy then. There was really no place to turn to. So I had no knowledge. I'm like, you know what? I'm just not doing that anymore because I want to focus on my career. I don't need my security clearance put in jeopardy or any of that stuff. So I didn't really re-engage it until recently. And it's like, man, I wish I would have had this information 15 years ago. But I'm glad that you guys are offering that because I think it's needed.
Yeah, absolutely. We even go as far, like I cold emailed the National Association of Realtors. They have an MRP designation. So if any military member wants to use a realtor, they might seek out one that has a MRP designation because it's a military reload professional. So a realtor with that designation sounds like they'd be amazing to work with if you're a military member PCSing, right? Well, the problem is that we took that course and we were like, I think this was written by civilians. So anyone can get it. You don't have to be a military member to get the MRP designation. So we took that course and it could be better. So now I reached out and I was like, hey, we're the subject matter expert in military real estate. And they said, holy cow, you're right. You are. And now if anyone takes that MRP course, it's an ADPI course. It was written by us. So anyone who gets that new relocation professional designation, they're getting ADPI education, which is great.
Oh, good deal. All right. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to switch gears here. What do you think? If someone were starting from zero and didn't know what to do, what advice would you give them if they didn't have a lot of assets? Like, what are some strategies to start to retake control of your financial situation and create that financial freedom?
Couple things. Number one, I'm going to give you all the free things. First, go and download the book. It's 160 something pages. Military house hacking. Just go to activedutypassiveincome.com and a pop-up will come up, I think. Or you can go to activedutypassiveincome / no, actually, I think you just go to militaryhousehacking.com and it'll take you to the book. Anyway, or you can buy it on Amazon, but the free version's on our website is all I'm saying. Read the book. If you're a military member and you want to learn what you can do, read the book. We have a whole chapter on the VA loan. It's like 30 pages just on the VA loan and all the ins and outs of that. But we also have my story, for instance. I used a VA loan and live-in flipped. Because I didn't start doing real estate really until I got out of the military. And so all of our collective stories are in there and they're all different. It's fantastic. Tim, house hacked a triplex. Adam bought a 62 unit while stationed in Japan. So that is something that you'll want to read. Number one. Number two, subscribe to the podcast. That's a great thing. So, number three, join the Facebook group. That's a no-brainer. Number four, outside of ADPI. As far as financial foundations go, like step one, Dave Ramsey's great. Okay. And I'll just say, I'm kind of like hesitating and chuckling internally because he's not great for steps 2 through 100, or I don't know, 5 through 100, but he is great for steps 1 through 5. Okay. Or whatever that looks like for you, getting out of debt, figuring out what your baseline is, and growing your nest egg and just feeling secure. Talia and I, we used Dave Ramsey when I was still in, just to get out of debt. And it was fantastic using the debt snowball process and all that stuff. So I don't know. There's also Financial Foundations book that's a free download on the ADPI website. So there's all kinds of free resources. Get all the free stuff. And when you want more, there is more. But that's what we do. So if you're interested in financial freedom as a military member, we got you. Whatever you want to do, we got you. Okay.
Yeah, to your point, Dave Ramsey stuff is great. If you have no idea what you're doing and you just need to start, it is fantastic. And if you don't have discipline to do anything else, then just stick with that, and you'll achieve some level of financial success.
Yep.
But you want to get to that next level. Okay, then there's good debt, there's bad debt, there's cash flow, there's all these principles that
assets versus liabilities. I mean, all that stuff. I interviewed actually when COVID hit. I did a full week-long interview series with my 2 young sons on the ADPI Facebook page, and just interviewed them. Like, what is a good debt? What is good debt? What is a bad debt? What is an asset? What is a liability? And we just talked it through, and it's interesting to see what a kid's perspective, specifically my kids, because I've been talking to them about this stuff since they were 4, but interesting to kind of hear that and get that kind of and if somebody's just getting started and just like wants to get out of debt, even that one step, that financial foundations, will change the legacy of your family as that education is passed down from generation to generation. So don't feel like, oh, if you're not investing in thousands of units and you're not a multimillionaire, you can start changing your financial legacy for your family right now. And it will trickle down for generations, which is fantastic. And that correlates perfectly into what we're talking about, growth. Do hard things. You do some of that legwork up front to learn something new that your predecessors, your ancestors didn't do. You do that, sets a precedent for your kids and your grandkids, and it trickles down. So do that hard upfront work, and you can change a lot in your family.
Yeah, growing up, my family didn't have anything. I came from literally nothing. There was no financial education.
Yeah.
And, they didn't have the education to help me out. So when I joined the military, I did I got a paycheck. I'm going to go down to the PX. They give you this cool little star card, right? You start swiping that thing. I'm like, I got stuff. I'm going to go get the car. I did all of the things because I had no education when it came to finances whatsoever. And, part of the Do Hard Things journey is I've learned everything the hard way. So I'm trying to help people not make the same mistakes.
That's the way to do it.
But learning these principles, and I'm walking the steps now, and I'm teaching my kids. Like, are you familiar with the Greenlight app?
No.
There's an app that came out. There might be some other ones for kids, but I got teenagers. But I think I heard, who was it? Ryan Stewman or someone else that's out there in the financial field. It's got a big following. He talked about Greenlight, and I went to go check it out. And it's fantastic. It's like the Gab phone for your kids, where you can set up get them a debit card. You can teach them to invest. They can earn chores. You can monitor it, and you can see everything that they're spending. Super cool app. I just got my kids set up on it. And today, before this podcast, this had never happened before, but they were fighting over who was going to mow the yard today to get paid.
Yes. Yes.
And I've got them instantly, as soon as they receive money, they put 10% in savings, and they've been doing it automatically. And it's just and you can see it. So it's super cool.
Okay. I'm going to look that up because we do, we have dinner around the table each night, and we talk about all kinds of stuff like this. And
it's called Greenlight. When I had them set up, I gave them a little bit, and because you can show them how to invest, so you can instantly invest off the app as well. It's super cool. They bought some Apple stock, and it was cool.
I'm going to do it, and they don't have phones yet. We're holding off as long as we can, but they do have iPads. So
I don't know if you know of Gab phone, but Gab is really Gab Wireless is specifically for parents. So you have They give them like those, they're nice screen phones, but almost disposable because the kids are going to end up breaking them anyway.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Yeah.
And there's really good monitoring features on there, so you can kind of see what's going on. So that's
okay. That's the brand.
Really
like GAB.
GABB. Gab.
Yeah.
Check them out. So that was a godsend because I'm like, they don't need a high powered iPhone now. I mean, hell, adults can't even handle
all the stuff.
Yeah. So
awesome.
Both really good tools. So if you're a parent, those are two excellent resources for you.
Love that. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Wrote it down.
So, buying, I've been watching you, just close on storage units, you're closing on like apartment complexes. I'm just kind of wading into this, and I'm starting to like poke behind my eyes behind the curtain, because I always thought, man, that seems like so daunting. What are some common myths to owning like multifamily or some of these other like storage unit? How would someone get into that? And what are some of the common myths?
Yeah. I mean, what's crazy is that I hesitate to even say it because people are going to be like, yeah, right. You don't have to have your own money to buy them. You have to have knowledge. You've got to invest in yourself. Maybe you might need some education course. You might need to join a mentorship program. You might need, you need that ecosystem of people. But you do not need money. I've invested, I am a general partner in about 4,800 units in the last 5 years since working with Rod Cleef. And then 4,600 units as a limited partner, as a passive investor. So I keep my money moving now that I have some money, right? When I started, I had no money. And you just got to find your niche. I will say this, there are analytical people out there and there are more extroverted people. So analytical, introverted, and then kind of more extroverted networkers, right? I am an extrovert in certain circumstances. But I'm a networker. I'm a connector. I do know that. I need to find my value in a community. I need to push that value to as many people as possible in the right ecosystem. So like if somebody asks me to underwrite a deal, I cringe. I feel like I don't even know if someone could pay me to sit behind a computer and look at a spreadsheet it just pains me to think that someone does that. But then there are people who are like, you couldn't pay me to go network. There's no way I would go out there. So find your niche. You could be an asset manager. You could be a capital raiser. You could be obviously you can't just capital space, but capital raise, investor relations. You could be someone who just finds the deal, sourcing. And you could be a key principal if you have a substantial net worth. So there are all these ways that you can get into multifamily, 5 specifically. And they don't take your own money. You raise the money from investors. You have to know how to do that. So that's the education part of it. But I'm just a separated E6 from the Army. If I can figure this out, guys, I'm from Iowa, just a regular grew up in the cornfields, picking corn when I was 12 years old. I'm just a regular guy. If I can figure this out, anybody can figure it out. But here's the problem. Not taught that anybody can do this. When we grow up, no one says in high school, like, oh, hey, by the way, all those apartments you drive by every day, you can buy them. No one says that because you're supposed to go be a good employee because that's how the education system is set up. And it was needed. The education system needed to be set up that way in the Industrial Revolution, post-war build up and stuff like that. And so they created a system of like, don't be an entrepreneur because we don't need entrepreneurs. We've got, a handful of those and that's enough. Now it's different. You can be whatever you want to be, and including an apartment owner. You can own 100 single family properties, or you can own 10,000 apartments. It doesn't matter. What you want to do, you can do. So you just have to kind of change your mindset and say, oh, I am. And sometimes, like for me, it just took going to a conference. I went to one of Rod's conferences in 2018, and I noticed the people on the panel were like wearing hoodies and board shorts, and they had thousands of units and they're multimillionaires. I'm like, this is just a regular dude up there. Like, he can do it. Certainly I can do it. Okay. And then I just showed up. I'm not the smartest guy in the room, as I said before, but I showed up. I consistently was there on calls, making myself available, constantly telling people what I'm capable of and what I'm passionate about and what for you. And it takes time to get familiar with what that is. So if you're like, well, I don't know what value I add, you'll find it. If you just keep showing up you'll gravitate to one of those things that you're passionate about, and people will recognize that because it's the thing you keep talking about. Like for me at ADPI Con in October, you're attending, I'm giving a session on networking like a pro, because there are certain things you can do when you're networking to make someone else really open up to you. And then when you have them tell you their problems, you can help them solve them from someone else in your network. And that is so valuable. And I didn't even realize that until last year. Last year, I was sitting here thinking, how in the heck am I buying all of these deals? What value am I actually bringing? Well, I'm really good, for whatever reason, at putting people together with their problems and solutions, connecting problems to solutions. So for whatever reason, that's working for me. And there are people out there listening to this who are like, I don't know what value I would add. Just show up and apply yourself, and you will add value. You'll find out what value you're supposed to add to a team.
Yeah, absolutely. So be the linchpin, putting the right people together and just adding value in that way. And I love it. So it's only been a 5-year journey for you.
Yeah. For multifamily. Yep.
And in that time, so I've got some of your stats here from your bio. You've had 4,621 units.
Yeah. As a limited partner, as a general partner, that's like 4,809 or something like that.
You've been involved in over 165 million in multifamily and storage assets in 5 years.
Yes, sir.
That's awesome. So walk the dog. You went to the, because a lot of our people that are listening, it's probably like they maybe have never been to a real estate conference. They might be thinking that this is cool, but it's hard to wrap their head around. So you went to the conference. What did the next year or so look like? What got you on fire, and what were some of the initial action steps? Because that's usually the hardest part.
Yeah. If you are a military member, go to ADPI Con. It's adpicon.com. Go. Jay's going. I'll be there. We have some major hitters there. That is what is going to, and I'll show you my journey there. If you are a civilian, go to Cleef's conference, which is exactly where I started 5 years ago. I went to his conference in LA in April of 2018. And that's where I was drinking through a fire hose for sure. It was all multifamily for 3 days. And I'm just like, I didn't know a thing about multifamily, but I recognized that the people on stage were normal people. And I went up in a pod, not knowing me, and I asked him to write the foreword to our book that's now a bestseller. And he did. And I was like, this is my community. I love it. It's awesome. I have not missed a conference since. And I just talked about showing up. I have not missed one of his conferences since 2018, whether virtual or in person. So when you do those types of things, military, show up to ADPI Con, because it's like super niche down to the people who speak your language. Also, they speak military, and they speak real estate, and they speak passive investing, and they speak growth and all that stuff. But just go to a conference and talk to as many people as you can. If you are an introvert and you're like, oh my gosh, I just would sit in the back and I wouldn't get any value out of it because I'd just be, you can be the one that is sitting there taking notes. And then all it takes for you, Mr. or Mrs. Introvert, is one-time courage. You've got to be bold one time. You go up to somebody who is clearly extroverted, and talk to me and say, hey, this is me. I don't think we've met. And when you do that, the extrovert's going to ask you all, because they're probably a networker, they're going to ask you all about yourself and really get you to open up. So all you really have to do is slide into a conversation, introduce yourself. And like, hey, you can even say, hey, I'm introverted. I love anything analytical. I've been taking diligent notes. If you guys want a copy of these notes, here's a value add for you. If you want a copy of my notes, I'll send them to you. Man, that's valuable, because I hate taking notes. So whoever you are, go to a conference, whether you're an introvert or extrovert, go to a conference and start there. You'll learn, your eyes will be open to it, and then you can decide which path you want to go from there.
Get in the room.
Get in the room.
That's where you start to get in the arena, right? You connect with other like-minded people that are doing what you want to be doing, and people that are in those spaces, they want to help out the new people. Absolutely.
That's the other thing is, this is not a cutthroat, like single family is very like, that's my neighborhood. Get your bandit sign off my corner. That's my deal. I have to manage the property manager. I have to do this. I have to change the doorknobs. With multifamily, which is why I like it, and I think military members gravitate to multifamily a little bit more, you've got to be open to teams. You have 3, 4, 5, 6 general partners on a one property. that's managing 100, asset managing, not property managing, because we hire property managers. We don't do that ourselves, but you collaborate. And people, like even people I'm competing with, I have amazing relationships with. It's like people who are in the same space on the same property, we might collaborate on the next deal. It's fantastic. We're not competing against each other. We're trying to help each other because everyone wins. There's enough for everybody, for sure.
Yeah, and Rod Cleef's group. So I'm the high performance coach for Rod and his Warrior group, and it's a fantastic group of people. I've been working with them for about 4 months now, and just a very welcoming, encouraging group of people. And so, to your point, if you don't know where to start, go to a conference, bring a notebook. Don't be bashful. Just jump in there, start asking questions. And in 5 years, I mean, look at the portfolio that you've created in 5 years. It's pretty remarkable. You can absolutely change your family dynamic.
Go to Rod's boot camp in September. If you're a real go-getter, go to Rod's in September and ADPI's in October. Rod's is in Orlando in September. Ours is in San Antonio in October. Go to both. Rod will be speaking also. Rod's is all multifamily. ADPI is there's going to be a 1 to 4 unit track and a multifamily track, and you can attend both. So it's just good to have that exposure, but show up. You must show up, be in the room.
And I'll probably more than likely be at both. So
yeah, I actually got here's a cool, impactful thing. In July last year, when Rod had his last event in Denver, I brought my family, and I was inducted into the Warrior Hall of Fame at his event. He chose, I think, 8 or 10 of his warriors, and for not only just multifamily success, but with philanthropy stuff also. People engaged in other stuff. So
that's awesome.
Really cool.
I think, it's all good to generate money. And I think we need to, that gives you financial freedom, right? But to be able to give back, and I love the work that you're doing. That's making like a tremendous impact and making a dent and a serious problem and helping our own. And I admire the hell out of that. So thank you.
It's way more valuable. I say this, like the fundraisers I do, I feel like and this isn't really a negative thing. It's just funny to say. I feel like they're selfish because I get so much out of raising that money. There's no return. There's no ROI other than feel good and a tax for donors. But I get so much out of it knowing that, that money built 6 new homes or whatever it turns out to be. And so if you get involved in real estate, you have the opportunity, I feel like, to give with an open mind, and the money from real estate will come. Like if you just have a 5-year plan, like don't feel like you're going to get into real estate and make money next month. It took me 9 months to co-sponsor a deal. It took me 8 or 15 months to get my first deal after joining Rod's coaching mentoring program. People are doing it a lot faster because the community is bigger, which is awesome. But have a 5-year goal. Be like, hey, in 5 years, I'm going to be financially free. Don't think, in 1 year, I'm going to make enough money to retire. You might be able to replace your military income, but if you're a civilian and making really good money, put a bigger, it should be a lifestyle change. It's not some get rich quick thing. You just got to stay at it. It took me 5 years. So that maybe to some people that's super short, but when I started, I was like, think about going, I'm going to be doing well in 5 years. Like you have no idea how you're going to get there. You don't know what the path looks like. You don't know what the success years are going to feel like, but you just know like that's the path. And I'm just going to stick to that 5-year plan and keep on showing up and being present and learning and growing and pushing. And it happens. You put your vision boards up. You have to put your vision boards up and surround yourself by the things that you're going to accomplish. And then they come true.
No, it's outstanding. What do you think military members, do you think they have, what are some advantages a military member or veteran would have working in this space?
I mean, if you're in 1 to 4 units, you've got the VA loan. I mean, had I known in 2005 that I could buy a fourplex, like I said, I would own more fourplexes right now. I would own plexes or triplexes or duplexes, or I would have maybe convinced my wife at the time to rent out the spare bedrooms in a single family. I don't know. It just depends. Actually, we did for a while, come to think of it.
That's the whole house hacking concept.
Yeah. And that's the whole house hacking concept. So military house hack, you have this incredible advantage to being able to put $0 down. You might have to pay closing costs, or maybe the seller's willing to pay the closing costs. depending on the market and whatever, but 0 down payment on a fourplex. That is a remarkable advantage that most people don't get. So go do, and then there's the one-time restoration of the VA loan. So you can, one time you can refinance that into a conventional loan. You move to your next duty station, buy another fourplex with a VA loan. So it's just, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's
wish I could go back in time and just have this knowledge.
Yeah. Well, no, I love that you guys have created this platform so people can learn, because, it's things that we wish we would have known, and I'm glad that. And I feel like I'm a rookie in learning, and I'm like, it's better late than never, right? You got to start somewhere.
Oh man, absolutely. I've had coaching students who are in their 60s and 70s who are just wanting to reinvent themselves and stay busy. And I'm like, you're not too late. I mean, maybe they're doing it for different reasons, just to stay busy, or maybe to add like a little bit to their travel fund or whatever it is, but you're never too late. I mean, I hear people all the time going like, I'm in my 30s. I feel like I missed it. I'm like, bro, I'm 43. Like I think I'm just getting started.
Yeah.
So
yeah, never too late. What, Colonel Sanders? He didn't make his. He didn't get. I think it was the mid '80s or something like that. It was early '80s. I don't know. There's plenty of time. That's all mindset. It's all mindset.
Yep.
You got plenty of time. So this is a great opportunity, and so I encourage people to go check out ADPI for sure. What are some? What are some? I guess top 3 books that you would recommend to someone. What are some of your favorite books to read?
Man, I've got a whole stack over there right now. I'm reading, what's it called? The Wise Investor by Rich Fetke. I've got, one I can't put down. And so Can't Hurt Me. I could read over and over again. David Goggins, just like as polarizing as he can be, as like all the stuff he says or whatever, just the kind of premise of pushing. And I feel like that may be a great book for this podcast and for you for sure. It just Can't Hurt Me is a great
That's the book we're reading in our group right now. And it's like the second time. I read it the first time. Now I'm listening to the Audible, and the Audible is fantastic because it's almost like a podcast. There's a lot more context in there.
Yeah. I think my favorite nonfiction is Lone Survivor, just because I was kind of inadvertently part of the end of that. Operation Red Wing, when they went in to attempt to rescue those guys, and you hear Marcus Luttrell, the lone survivor, and everyone does the Murph on the Murph WOD and CrossFit and all that stuff, and Lieutenant Mike Murphy. So my unit went in and was the helicopter that got shot down. It's 3rd Battalion 160th. So when I arrived at 3rd Battalion 160th in Savannah, Georgia in 2005, I parked and they said I was immediately to go to the end of the flight line for the memorial for Operation Red Wing. The guys they were just burying the crew for that. Wow. So that was my kind of rude awakening to special operations. And I didn't sign up for 160th. I did not intend to be in special operations, but I was trying to make it home to on time. So I ended up at the top of my class and got selected. But it was a very rude awakening to what I was about to get into, and, held to be true also. It was very high op tempo and a lot of loss and danger and stuff. So
how long did you, we didn't really get into your military career, but how long did you end up serving?
I was only in for 6 years, and I spent my whole career in 3rd Battalion 160th.
Okay. What was your transition like going from service in the civilian world?
Well, thankfully I had a good job that brought me back to the base my wife was from, but then I had to learn how to make others' perspectives matter. We talked about that early in the show. Like I have PTSD or whatever you want to label that as. We lost 19 brothers, and I was at one of my additional duties was a burial detail NCOIC. I buried 6 of my friends personally, went to their hometowns and carried their casket and organized the crew and did the 21 gun salute and all that stuff for them at their hometowns. And one of the hardest things I've ever done, probably the hardest thing I've ever done, is fold a flag over their casket while listening to their mothers cry. Unbearable. And trying to maintain military bearing, not being allowed to cry. So to kind of come back full circle, when I got out, I loved 160th. I got to go to Navy SEER school and Pathfinder and Airborne, Air Assault, and every cool school you can think of. And loved, managing 27 guys. And so I didn't think anything was wrong. And I got out and I was like, well, I realized very quickly, now I don't really matter anymore. I don't really have a mission, a sense of purpose. And like, I don't have to be somewhere in the right uniform attitude. There was no like sense of urgency in the people around me. There was no safety and control. There was no, there wasn't a camaraderie or brotherhood anymore in the civilian sector. And so I had to really transition and go, what's this going to look like for me in 10 years? And here I am now. And I'm thankful that I went to the VA and even though I thought nothing was wrong, I thought I owed it to my wife and kids at the time. Well, still my wife and kids. I thought then that I owed it to them just to go and see behavioral health, because when I was in the unit, I wasn't allowed to go see behavioral health because I would lose my security clearance, something wrong with you. And then I would have gone to the needs of the Army, probably the third ID or something. So we all wait until we get out. So I went into the VA and they're like, hey, let's talk about it. I was in tears the first time. And I'm not a crier. I'm not a very emotional guy, but in general, but I was in tears the meeting at talking to a psychiatrist at the VA. Had no idea survivor's guilt was a thing. Had no idea anything was off at all. And I was like, geez, if I have this now, what am I going to be like in 10 years? And what if I hadn't gotten any kind of help? So for those of you who are transitioning out right now or soon in the next couple of years, if you're a couple of years, if you can, and I think this has completely changed now, go see behavioral health, regardless of your security clearance. If you know you're transitioning out, go do it, because you might feel fine now and you had a great experience like I did in the military, but 10 years from now, you might look different. And you're not going to be able to control that because your body is experiencing dopamine and serotonin and oxytocin and endorphins and adrenaline, all of those great chemicals that are stemmed from having the unit camaraderie and knowing where to be when, and safety and control, all the stuff I talked about. You lose that. And therefore you lose those chemicals. You lose the cortisol, the stress hormone, all of that stuff that your body's like, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I got it. The military does that for you. But when you get out, so it's all gone. So guess what happens? Withdrawal. Biologically, you are going through chemical withdrawal when you get out of the military. So over time, that wears you out and you can start doing destructive behavioral. You see veteran suicide, ultimately the worst, right? Then you've got just destructive behavioral, going to jail, getting in fights, divorce, all of the things that kind of can happen to a military member. And if you're in the military, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because you see your brothers and sisters going bungee jumping and buying motorcycles and going way too fast and doing crazy things and getting in bar fights and drugs and alcoholism. That can be a civilian side effect of not having the military anymore. So just be aware of that. Go get help. The people around you will thank you, or should thank you for just being a better version of yourself and making sure you're taking care of yourself, even if you don't think it's off.
Yeah, recently, I to be transparent and honest, and I always am with my listeners and everyone I talk to. I just retired in March, and I'm feeling that, and I know what I need to do. I'm like, man, but it's hard. It's very difficult, but I'm feeling all of those things: the withdrawal, I was someone, and I had the regimented routine. I'm having to recreate that for myself. And it feels a little more lonely, right? I don't have the camaraderie of my unit. Yeah, I still got my Army friends and whatnot. It's just not the same. It's not the same as waking up and putting on the uniform and having that same sense of purpose. I have a sense of purpose, but to your point, I've had some emotional struggles up and down as of late, trying to figure out, like, okay, what's this new zero gravity life I'm building for myself, and incorporating that. And to your point, I read a stat that, the first year of transition is where suicide is the highest. In fact, I think it's around the day that you get out is a incredibly high suicide rate day. And then you hit another point 10 years down the line. That's another spike for people.
Yep. I'm 10 years out. I'm actually a little over, I think I'm 11 years out now. Yep. And I'm telling you, a decade later, it comes creeping back. And guess what? You've got a lot of reminders throughout the year. You've got Independence Day, you got Veterans Day, you've got Armed Forces Day, you've got Memorial Day, you've got all these things where they're talking about your dead brothers and sisters or those who are currently serving. And you're just, every time I hear the national anthem at my son's baseball game. So you've got all these things throughout the rest of your life that are never going to go away, that remind you of the things you had and the things you don't have. And so you really got to figure out a way to balance that. Here's one tip that can help. Find a niche, find a new brotherhood. That's what ADPI is doing for tens of thousands of people now, is finding a new outlet. I don't care if it's real estate investing or your, Cub Scout master or whatever it is. Find a group of people, separated military people who love the same thing you do. And that's what ADPI has done very well, is allowing people to find a transition niche of people that speak the same languages and can really, transition in life and have a new passion and purpose.
You're going to channel that energy into something positive, make an impact, continue to serve, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's what I'm looking. That's why real estate, I think, in that as a performance coach, but getting, I'm wading into the real estate thing myself as a rookie, but I look at it as an opportunity to learn something new, to collaborate and work with other people. And, like you, I want to be able to do some philanthropy work and get involved and give back to my community.
Absolutely. Well, if you ever need me, I'm here for you.
No, I appreciate it, brother.
Yeah. Glad to give you the point of view from 10 years down the road if you ever need it. Yeah.
Well, we're about at an hour. So what do we need to cover that we haven't covered? What have I not asked you that I should have asked you?
You hit on the main things that I want to talk about, I think, which are kind of how to get started, why it's important, how to give back, why growth is there. I mean, we've really hit a lot of amazing points there, I think. And I hope people go back and take notes or rewind, because these are things that are tried and true, and like overly tried and true. And if we can be successful as we transition, so can you. There is no doubt in my mind that anybody can do what I've done, what you're doing, or well beyond. It's just that shift of saying, I can, and I will.
Yeah. Everything's mindset. It really is. It's all about the mindset. So, well, I appreciate you taking the time to come on today and share with us, all the endeavors that you're in, the education platform, and just your experiences. You gave a lot of great tips and advice. How can people get in contact with you?
Yeah, you can, I'll just give my email. I'm glad to help anybody individually. Eric@activedutypassiveincome.com. You can follow me on Instagram @real_Eric_Upchurch. I don't know if there are fake Eric Upchurchers yet, but I'm sure there will be. So that was kind of funny. I was actually just spoofing when I said @real_Eric_Upchurch when I, my Instagram account. But anyway, yeah, you reach out to me. I'm more than happy to answer DMs or whatever you got out there.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I appreciate it. So thanks for taking the time to be here. For everyone out there, keep doing hard things. We'll see you guys the next